Hello guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Q and this is Q's Beyond Fashion. In this channel, we love fashion and sewing. Now, I want you guys to be honest. At some point in your life, you have gone to bed wearing this. This is called a pantyhose. I know that some of you go to bed wearing this. Your husbands, they see you wearing this and going to bed. Today, I'm here to show you guys how to make a satin bonnet. This right here is a satin bonnet. Like I've said, you can use it to cover your head when going to bed or when you are doing your household chores like cleaning and maybe cooking. It is made of satin on the inside. On the outside, I decided to use an African fabric which is called isishweshwe fabric. It is very easy to make your own satin bonnet, and without wasting any more of your time, let me show you how you can make your own satin bonnet and stop wearing this to bed. I'm going to use this African fabric which is called isishweshwe fabric, and then I'm also going to use this satin fabric. This will be the inner part and this will be the outer part. In order to make the satin bonnet, you have to cut the fabric into a square. The size of the square, they completely depend on you. You can start from cutting a square that is 20 by 20 inches, or if you want a medium bonnet, you can cut a 22.5 by 22.5 square. But if you want a longer bonnet, then you can cut a square that is 25 inches by 25 inches. In my case, the length of the square is about 21 inches. You cut both the fabrics for making the bonnet. As you can see, to cut the bonnet, you have to fold your fabric into 4 like this. First, you fold it into half. Next, you fold the other half like this. Next, you get your tape measure. In my case, I'm going to measure 10.5 inches radius all around the fabric like so. Remember, you're measuring from this corner. Next, 10.5 all around. Then get your pair of scissors and cut around the marks that I've made like so. Now I've just cut around the 10.5 inch radius, and I open up the fabric and then it becomes one big circle. Now I'm going to use the circle in order to cut another circle on the other fabric. As you can see, I've got 2 big circles that are equal in length. I'm going to lay down these 2 circles, making sure that the right sides are against each other like this. This is the right side of the satin. This is the right side of the outer fabric. What we're going to do is we're going to head over straight to the sewing machine and we're going to sew a small seam allowance which is 0.25 of an inch all around the bonnet, and we're going to leave a small opening of around 4 inches. We are going to use this opening to overturn the bonnet when we're done. So let's head over to the sewing machine. This is the bonnet and I have sewn all around it. As you can see, I have only left this part which is open, and I'm going to use it to overturn the bonnet. Before overturning the bonnet, you first have to get a pair of scissors, and we are going to snip all around the sewing allowance that you left, making sure that you do not cut through the sewing line. So you just make small cuts like this all around the bonnet. As you can see, make sure you do not cut through the sewing line. The reason we are snipping around, we are trying to make sure that after overturning, the bonnet is going to lie flat without any rough edges. After snipping around the sewing line, we are going to overturn the bonnet. As you can see, after overturning, this is how the bonnet is going to look, and I'm going to take it to the iron just to make sure that I iron and make it straight all around the edges, and then I will come back. This is the bonnet after pressing it all around to make sure that it sits nicely. This is the inner side. As you can see, this is the satin and this is the treasury fabric. Next, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sew around the entire circle, as you can see, using a seam allowance of 1.25 inches. Now, the reason why I'm using a seam allowance of 0.5 inches is because I want to create some kind of a tubing that I'm going to use to insert an elastic. Now, the seam allowance that you saw here, it entirely depends on the width of your elastic band. In my case, the elastic band is 1 inch in width. So when I'm making the casing for the elastic band, it has to be bigger than the elastic band by 0.25 inches. So in my case, because the elastic band is 1 inch, then I'm going to sew around, making a casing, or rather a seam allowance of 1.25 inches. Please note that this time I'm going to sew around the entire circle. I'm not going to leave an opening because now I'm creating a casing for the elastic band. Thereafter, I'm going to insert the elastic band using this opening, and when I'm done inserting the elastic band, then I'm going to close this opening using a sewing machine. So let's go and make the casing of 1.25 inches. As you can see, now I have sewn around, closing the entire section. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure around my head, and then I'm going to cut the elastic and make it about 1.5 inches shorter than the distance, or rather the circumference of my head. If I measure around my head, I find that it is 23 inches. That means I'm going to cut the elastic band and make it 21.5 inches. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a safety pin. I'm going to attach it to one end of the elastic like so. Next, I'm going to insert it using this opening that I made earlier, and make sure that I insert it inside this casing that I've just created. I will push the elastic band using the casing, as you can see. Now, I also have to make sure that this part of the elastic band doesn't go through. Finally, we come to the beginning, and then I'm just going to spread around the bonnet like this. Now, before I insert the entire elastic in, I'm going to remove the safety pin and head straight to the sewing machine, and I'm going to sew to secure the elastic band like this, and then I will come back and show you guys. Now, as you can see, I have sewn together the elastic band to make sure that it is attached and secure. You go around almost 3 times, going back and forth like so, in order to make sure that it is strong enough to hold the elastic band. Next, I'm just going to pull the elastic band and insert it inside like this. And this is how the bonnet will look. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this opening on the sewing machine. I'm just going to push it inside like this, and then sew around and close the opening like so. Now, as you can see, I've closed the opening that was there in the bonnet. And next, I'm going to spread the fabric and make sure that it is evenly distributed all around the elastic band. This is how my bonnet looks, and I'm going to try it off and see how it looks. Now that we are done making the bonnet, I want to cut some strips using the same African fabric that I used for the bonnet. Now, these strips, I'm cutting them because sometimes I will use the bonnet as a head cover or a scarf. I will use the strips to tie around the bonnet in order to make sure that it almost looks like a scarf. I'm going to make one long strip which will be at least 100 inches. If we measure the width, it is around 33 inches. So if I want to come up with 100 inches, it means I have to cut 3 strips And the 3 strips are going to give me roughly 96 inches, which will be almost what I want. Now the width of the strips that I'm going to cut, I'm going to make them 8 inches. Now these are the 3 strips of the fabric that I've just cut, and I'm going to join them one end to the other until I have one continuous strip. As you can see, I've joined all the 3 strips into one long strip. So here is the continuous strip. What I've done now is I've ironed open all the seams. What I'm going to do, I'm going to fold it into half like this, right up to the end, and then I'm going to start sewing from this corner right around to the other corner, leaving some space round about the center, which will be just about 3 inches. Before I start sewing, I want my band to be slightly slanted around the edges. I'm just going to get a pair of scissors, and I'm going to make a cut that is slanted at the end like this. And I'm also going to do something similar to the other end of the band. I'm going to slant and cut it like so. Now I'm going to start sewing from this corner right round, leave the opening at the center, and then sew to the other end. As you can see, I have sewn around up to the end. I only left an opening here, which I'm going to use to overturn the band. Now, along the edges, I'm going to cut like that. This will help in making sure that the edges are sharp after overturning the band. Next, we overturn the band like this, as you can see. I continue overturning the band. As you can see, it is not easy. Almost done. This is the end of the band. I'm trying to make sure that the corners are coming out and are as sharp as I want them to be. Same applies to this other corner right here. Keep pushing it until the entire corner is out. That is my band. This is the opening that I used to turn it over. And now I'm going to head over straight to the iron and make sure that I press it down nicely. And then next, I'm going to go to the sewing machine and sew this opening and close it. Then the headband will be done. Now, here is the strip that I've just made. I have also pressed it. I've also closed the opening that I used to overturn the band, and now it is complete. This is the bonnet that which I want to use the strip with. You can choose if you want to attach the strip maybe like this and just sew it using a straight line like that. But in my case, I'm not going to attach the strip to the bonnet. On other days, I'm planning to use the bonnet on its own to cover my head, and during other days, I'm going to use the headband on top of the bonnet to make it look like a headscarf. Now let me just go quickly put this on to show you how it's going to look. This is how my bonnet looks. I hope you guys love it as much as I do. Okay, let's put on the band and just see how it's going to look. Before putting on the band, I'm just going to push it backwards like this. Now, this is my bonnet. I'm sorry guys, I don't know how to tie the band nicely. Basically, this is how the whole thing looks, hey? I hope you guys enjoyed this video because I know I did. I love you guys. Please continue to watch the channel. Make sure that you subscribe, comment, like the video, and also share it with everyone that you think it's going to help. But most importantly, we want to know what you think of our sewing, where you want us to improve, the kind of videos that you want us to upload, and generally everything that you want us to teach you. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye and God bless you all. Bye.